we never know where life takes us when we follow those things that are meaningful and make us happy in life. And I think in the process, we literally transform the world person by person and bright light by bright light.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Maura Sweeney. Previously, episode 1186 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 1 month, 18 days, 14 hours, and 45 minutes since we last had that recorded conversation. That was then. This is now. Maura, how are you doing today?
Angel, I am great, and I'm so thrilled to reconnect with you. So thanks for reaching out, and it gives us a great chance to reconnect.
Yeah, most definitely, especially when your conversation stood out as much as it did, when you brought home the energy, the conversation, the value to our amazing audience. So what's the update? How are things going with you?
Well, thank you for saying that. And I can't even tell you how many other people I've interviewed with on various podcasts. And they'll even say to me, Maura, there is something about the way you make me feel. Your energy is so up. And, I'm still doing it. I have my own podcast, Living Happy Inside Out. I have my blogs. I continue to interview. And then I'm also, you probably knew this, an international speaker. And everywhere I go, Angel, this is within me. I can't even get away from myself. It's the idea of being a presence and being an energy and being a light, and I almost want to say like a love light of everything that is the best of our own authenticity, and inspiring other people to let their own best and happiest and most authentic light shine from the inside out. So I talk a lot about influence and leadership, and I've been so thrilled to go. I know you travel everywhere, but since we've spoken, I don't know, maybe I've been to 10 or 12 countries right now, usually speaking to young audiences, university, young national leaders, about how no matter who you are, no matter your circumstances, you're a person of influence. And unless we tie into that, like the inside piece of us, we could easily get daunted by the world. So thanks for recognizing the positive energy.
Yeah, so how has it been? I know as you travel, you get to analyze what's going on around you and how far people are from connecting to your message. So are you seeing a huge disconnect from individuals understanding that they need to anchor the core of who they are to what they're doing?
This is interesting. What I find is I never tell people what to think. It's just not the way I am. But I will invite them to remember what they already know, which is very interesting because I'll go into certain places. You could see some guys leaning back like, oh, yeah, she thinks she's going to talk about happiness. Who the heck is this lady? And by not even the middle of the presentation, when I'm showing them different pictures, asking them questions, telling them stories, sharing things, people are all leaning in. And when it's all over, everybody wants more. And what it is that people know that the world we're in right now, the society that so many of us worldwide have been conformed to, doesn't bring out the best in us. It doesn't allow everyone to shine with what they have to offer, with what they could bring to the world. And so all I'm doing is sharing the truth of what people know within. And when they reconnect with them, it's like their own light starts to shine and their own confidence rises. And when you know something internally, Angel, like, look what you're doing. You couldn't be doing what you're doing today unless somewhere along the line you got inspired to say, this is me and this is what I'm called to do because it gives me energy. It sets you off as being unique. You become influential. You help lift people up. And what I do is the same thing, but it's just sort of like on another channel. And people know intrinsically who and what they are. They know there's a better world. They know there's a better life. Their soul is calling out for it. And I'd say basically that's all I do is remind them of their soul and then encourage them to live from their inside soul and be harmonious on the outside rather than always, picking up negative messages and repeating bad behaviors that other people said to them was the way to go. And they already know it's not.
Having the ability to listen to that voice seems to be the assembly of life where you're putting things in order that align with you. How do you do that? How do you ensure that you're always prepared that when that voice speaks that you're able to listen?
Oh, thank you for even asking. Do you know it's something I've been working on since childhood because I always felt daunted by the world or by externals. So I learned as a very young child when I didn't feel good or happy, or if I felt like my mind set was in the wrong place, I would go to a quiet place and I would realign my thoughts and my emotions until I came up with a place, a mental space that was positive, not only for myself, but for everything I anticipated. I'd have to get rid of things like, oh, am I offended? Or do I feel badly? Or do I feel like a victim? And I'd put myself in a better place. So to this day, and multiple times a day, and Angel, I could be in the car, I could be in an exercise class, I could be on my way somewhere, or it could be the end of the day, the morning. I will just give myself a little bit of space to be quiet and to tune in. Because if we could do that, the peace that we can carry and the love and the peace and I want to say the harmony that we can literally connect into and then share with the rest of the world, that's our light, and that's really how we change the world. And so I've had lots of practice.
That's wonderful. Being in the corporate space for as long as you were, and now being in a space where you're interacting with individuals by choosing what feels like slowing down to go faster. How much have you seen that the corporate space requires what you offer?
You know what? That's true. That's such a different world. And I've addressed the corporate space too. And I always bring the same message. I mean, I could feel it. I feel everything. I go to a new country, a new city, a new space, and I always feel what's going on. And what I notice is that people get involved in a culture and sometimes they can't get out of it. So I remind them to start establishing the culture within. I'll give you a case in point. I spoke not too long ago at one of the largest corporate centers for the banking industry, or at least let's say the credit industry. And everybody's got all these great mantras on the wall, corporate mantras, but internally, because people are afraid or because they're so used to doing things a certain way, they forget about the words that they have all scribed and they keep operating on the same channel. So I bring people again to this space that's internal, that people, once they can lock into it, remember it, and hold on to it, they become conduits to changing the tenor. And I'll tell you something, I learned this in corporate and I could see it today. When people are in a better energetic space, I would say a happier space, a space where they're not daunted, where they're not intimidated, where they're not feeling like they're carrying around a ball and chain, but they feel free, they do better, they think better, they operate better, they're more creative, they have more fun. I experienced it, and people know that. They know when they feel better that all the creative juices flow, and so does a lot of the cooperation that oftentimes corporations kind of lack.
Maura, you are absolutely amazing. There was a young man we spoke to a couple episodes ago. His name is Jim Sweeney. How has he been impacted by everything that you are doing?
Let me tell you, with what I do today, Angel, I couldn't do it without Jim Sweeney, because everybody's got their skills. Usually I like to joke and say I can't get myself around the block. This man could get himself around the world, and he can set up appointments for me. Like, I'll tell you, just yesterday he made arrangements for me. I'll be heading to London January 21st and 22nd. I've been invited by organizer Clara Rufai, who's running again the Leap and Shine International Conference, and she's invited me to be a speaker. And so he's already, worked with her and has set up all of the travel and the other arrangements. Thank goodness, because I'm telling you, I have been to that's a normal, I don't say normal, but it's an easier place to get to. But he has helped me get to some of the most obscure places. And so without him, I could not have gotten to as many places on the global map and made the difference that I have without his help. And I'm so grateful. I can't even tell you. We make a good pair.
That's wonderful. Did he just bring your coffee for you?
He did, actually. Here the goal is, this is it. I make it at night, and he brings it to me in the morning. So
That's
we kind of
amazing.
like we work well.
Well, Maura, my friend, it is such a grand opportunity, and I'm honored to call back on you and you respond to be on the podcast, because I believe what you're sharing here, the fact that you've not given up, that you've stuck to the thing that you believe is core to who you are, your calling, if you would, I believe that is inspirational. And to hear that it's going on still and it's growing as well, it really is a great sign to those that are listening that they should start, of course, little steps, right? One step at a time, but look at what could be accomplished. So my friend, I appreciate you. Before we leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Oh, other than to say thank you for inviting me on. But yes, I will share one thing just to give you an idea. And this kind of dovetails what you said. About 2 weeks ago, I finished submitting a chapter for a book. Remember, I talked to you a lot about love, the light that's within us. Well, there's a friend that I've come to learn of and know quite well in Serbia, and she's a professor. And her thing is all about millennials in the workplace. So she is soon releasing a book on millennials in the workplace. And she reached out to me and she said, Maura, I know you speak so much to millennials. You've got your corporate background. You were actually like a millennial oriented manager back in the day. And she said, would you please add a chapter to my book? So there it is. It's like another little, we never know where life takes us when we follow those things that are meaningful, purposeful, and make us happy in life. And I think in the process, we literally transform the world person by person, piece by piece, moment by moment, and bright light by bright light, just as you are.
I appreciate that. Wow, again, amazing audience, Maura Sweeney. Maura, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.